In today's Leeds news, Revie to be honoured, Sebastian Bornauw latest, Gabriel Goodson update, Anton Stach linked to Leeds, Howard Wilkinson statue campaign, and Leeds exits begin. Morning folks, welcome back to The View for Tuesday morning, the 1st of July. It's the 1st of July. PSR window is shut yesterday. Brand new PSR window kicks in and we're starting to see some ramping up of interest from Leeds, as well as some exits, which are very likely to start coming in their droves in the next couple of days as well. We'll get into that in a couple of seconds. Just to let you know, there'll be no news video in the morning. I'm actually in Leeds tomorrow for most of the day. There will be something that comes out tomorrow from Leeds. Nothing special. Don't think I'm getting any scoops. I'm definitely not. But I will be doing some content tomorrow in Leeds. So we'll try and get something out tomorrow afternoon. But keep an eye out for that as well. Right, let's start off today's news with the Don Revie being honoured story that came out yesterday. And Leeds United iconic manager Don Revie is set to be honoured by his hometown. A metre squared mosaic is being erected at Revie's former school at the Archibald Primary School and will be visible to all passers-by. Andy MacDonald, the MP for Middlesbrough and Thornby East, said that Revie's achievements were utterly remarkable, but he also said that Revie had remained forgotten outside of Leeds. MacDonald, along with Robert Nichols, teamed up with the school historian Dr. Tosh Warwick and some local artists in order to create the mosaic that will be put up in Revie's honour. It's always great to see managers recognised. It's great to see Don being recognised in his hometown and his former school, as well as just around Leeds United. Now let's get Howard Wilkinson a statue outside Elland Road. We'll get to that in a couple of minutes. Let's move on. Let's talk about Sebastian Bornauw and as Leeds get ready to hopefully unveil their third signing of this window. More detail on the player and the transfer has started to come to light. Turns out that Daniel Farke tried to sign Sebastian Bornauw when Norwich City were promoted to the Premier League 5 years ago. But at that stage he was with FC Cologne and he would be available to Norwich should they be relegated, and a cup price clause would have kicked in to action. However, Cologne survived on the final day. The player decided to stay put and try and get a move into European football, which eventually he did when he moved to Wolfsburg for £11.5 million 4 years ago, which with inflation now would be a decent price that Leeds are getting for the player at this stage. During an interview at that point, Bornauw spoke about interest in him from Norwich as well as Crystal Palace, and they were both keen, but he wanted to stay the German side and get into Europe with them, but did want to play Premier League football at some point in his career. Bornauw follows the 49ers track record right now. He is 26 years of age, he is over 6 foot in height, and he has 1 year remaining on his contract, something that's popping up repeatedly in the last couple of windows. But Bornauw is a good reader of the game and covers an awful lot of ground and has a knack of scoring goals from corners, something Leeds have been desperately needing for a couple of years now. The centre-back will cost Leeds £5.1 million and represents good value for money and will give Leeds some cover in the right centre-back position, where right now we only have Joe Rodon. So with the likely exits expected, Leeds will have cover in both central centre-back positions with Bial and Stroke on the left and Rodon and Bornauw on the right. His aerial ability is labelled as one of his major assets, and he's in the top 1% of aerial duels won in the Bundesliga, but he's pretty decent on the ground as well. Wouldn't describe him as massively quick, but he covers ground. He's a very long stride, covers the ground very well. He'd be not far off Joe Rodon's pace as well, but he does get in, reads the game very well. There's a couple of clips floating around about him as well. You can check that out. But yeah, looks like a decent signing of what will essentially, I would imagine, be competition and cover in the positions. Leeds starting to fill those positions around the outside of that squad and getting some deals done while they're waiting to get the more prominent ones done down the middle of the team. Let's move on and talk about other players who are over 6 foot, 26 years of age and have 1 year left on their deal, and that's Gabriel Goodson. And according to Graham Smith in the YEP today, he says that Leeds still retain strong interest in the Swedish fullback. The YEP states that the situation has progressed slightly, but there is nothing expected imminently in terms of a deal with Goodson. Goodson did speak about Leeds United a couple of weeks ago when being interviewed after international duty, and he dropped in that Leeds had spoken to him, but that he wasn't going to decide his future until he had returned from his holiday, which is expected to be the next couple of days. There are other interested parties in Goodson. So this is not an open goal by any stretch of the imagination at all. There is a lot of work to do on this, and Leeds will need to convince him that coming to Elland Road would be the best move for him. And again, he would be a player that would add more height to this Leeds United side, with Firpo expected to move on in the next day or so. It'd be nice to get that one boxed off nice and early as well, and get that back line just finished, and then focus on the other areas of the park. Let's move on and talk about a new link that's come out, and this one has been floating around Wacko Forum for a couple of days now, and was leaked by the same individual who put out the stories around Nemecha and Bornauw both before anybody else announced them. There's lots of people claiming exclusives on these, but they were very much labelled. The dates are there over on Wacko. But now today, according to Graham Smith, he says that Leeds have interest in ball-winning specialist Anton Stach from Hoffenheim. I am going to pronounce it Stach just to remove the amount of phlegm that's involved in pronouncing his name in German. But Stach is, as you guessed, 26 years of age and is 6'4" in height, and has 2 years remaining on his current Hoffenheim deal. Stach is known for his mobility, his dual-winning ability, and his dominant aerial performances in the Bundesliga. He has been labelled as one of the best ball winners in the Bundesliga. There is real competition for Stach's signature, and while Leeds would like to get a move done quickly here, Graham Smith has said that this is likely to be a more drawn-out process. Stach has been capped twice by Germany and has 122 Bundesliga appearances under his belt. He scored 5 times and has 60 assists in his spell there as well. Positional wise, he's predominantly a defensive midfielder and would be seen as a possible alternative to maybe Ilya Gruev, but he has also played 60 times in attacking midfield positions and played 34 times in the number 8, and those numbers are according to the YEP. He has some European experience under his belt as well, and did score against Tottenham Hotspur in the Europa League this season. And Stach is in the top 20% of midfielders in Europe's top 5 leagues when it comes to ball recoveries, interceptions, aerial duels, and blocks per 90 minutes. FB Ref suggests he's an excellent all-round defensive destroyer, but he also ranks well amongst Europe's best in terms of progressive passes forward. So not a side-to-side defensive midfielder as we've seen before at the club. There are other clubs said to be interested in Stach. Eintracht Frankfurt are probably the more prominent one. Will offer him Bundesliga football, which he knows very well as European football next season. Fulham are said to have some level of interest in him as well. And this time last year, Newcastle United were labelled as being interested in the player, but there is no updates on whether they're still retaining interest in him at this point. And this one's not going to be done quickly. This is similar, I suppose, to Gudmundsson. There is interest in him. Leeds will need to convince him of a Leeds United project outside of the European football that Eintracht Frankfurt can offer him straight away. So again, still ground to cover on this one. Not a given that we even get him at all, but it's a nice link to be put to. Another big player, another tall physical player that Leeds are trying to add to this squad. You can clearly see what the 49ers are trying to do. There's a clear strategy around what they're trying to do, but these are the ones they have to fight for, and these are the ones they'll need to try and get in. So we'll see how that one goes over the next couple of days. Moving on, let's talk about Howard Wilkinson, and the last English manager to win the top flight. Howard Wilkinson is still not recognised for his achievements at Leeds United. The man that got the club back into the top flight and then went and won the league. The man behind the current Leeds United Shield badge, which was inspired by a label from a lovely bottle of wine. And the man who saw value in the youth at Elland Road and put Thorpe Arch together as well. There is an ongoing campaign to get Howard Wilkinson a statue around Elland Road. And Wilkinson described recently the possibility of that as being honoured, embarrassed and surprised. A bit of humility from Howard Wilkinson there as well. 40 Leeds United diehards attended a gathering at the Old Peacock Bar across from Elland Road to start a campaign to raise funds to remember Howard Wilkinson and have a statue put up in his honour. A rough year of 2027 has been earmarked to have the project completed, although the campaign is said to be very much in its infancy at this point. The group around this will need about £140,000 of funding to get this project off the ground, and the hope is that supporters and local business will get involved to support this initiative. Representatives from Leeds United were also present on the day in the Peacock, and the club have said that they fully support these plans, but as it's at an early stage, the club are not in a position currently to comment or rule anything out at this point. It would be great to see the Leeds United investors get involved in this and help bridge that gap and get that funding in as quickly as possible so we can move on and finally have Howard Wilkinson remembered and his achievements recognised by the club around Elland Road. Details on that campaign are down below in the description if you want to check that out. and I wish the lads all the very best in getting this done. It's long overdue. He very much deserves to be recognised by Leeds and around Elland Road. Let's move on to the final story of the day, and this one relates to Leeds United exits, and it's likely to be a busy couple of days with exits being announced at Elland Road as contracts expired yesterday on the 30th of June. Junior Firpo is expected to be announced as a Real Betis player any day now, and there are still question marks over Sam Byram's future as well. Leeds this morning confirmed the exits of Manor Solomon, Junior Firpo and Joe Rothwell both returning to their parent clubs, and thanked them for what they did for Leeds last season, and that likely means we won't see a return of Manor Solomon to the club this summer. Joe Rothwell though is moving away from Leeds, but not probably moving that far at all, with reports today confirming that Joe Rothwell is in talks around a 2-year contract at the 49ers' other invested club, Glasgow Rangers. Obviously, with them all, we wish them all the very best in their future careers, and we wait to see what the situation is around several other players that are running out of deals or haven't been offered new deals, and those moving into the final year of their contracts as well, what will Leeds do with them as well. So there's likely, now that we're into a new PSR window, to see some movement on exits, not just at Leeds, at other clubs as well. So we could start seeing dominoes starting to fall in other deals that Leeds are interested in. Folks, that'll be it for me today. Back tomorrow at some point in and around Leeds, and keep an eye out for that. It'll likely be live, but you can check that out tomorrow. No news in the morning again, but back on Thursday morning as per normal. Have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you at some point tomorrow. See ya.